Hello, my name is Ryan Kingslien, founder of UArtsy. I'm also a painter, a poet, a sculptor, a coder, a CG artist, and a ZBrusher. Something really cool has come up in this Unleash program that I've been running for a little while now. It's a really interesting thing that happens to us. Now, Unleash is focused on the psychology of art, but it's not just the esoteric psychology. Now, do me a favor real quick. Google psychology of art. And then Google psychology of sports and put these in two separate tabs. If you Google psychology of sport, you'll see that there's all these like performance mottos and all of this uplifting stuff, and let me say a coach that does sports psychology but also translates it over into business and how do you thrive as a business person. If you Google psychology of art, you got Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh. You got depression groups. Somebody's cutting off their ear, or somebody's an alcoholic, or they're using art to pull themselves out of some dump, art therapy. These are all incredibly valuable, very valuable, especially because art connects us to ourselves. So when you are in a vulnerable state, art is one of the ways in which we can kind of connect to the true self, that younger self. But look, we can do better than that. It's not just for when we're damaged. It's also for when we're thriving. So there is a psychology to art that just has never been translated. I've seen no translation of this. I've seen attempts, but no translations. And that's what I'm committed to right now, is starting to understand how we can grow as artists using psychology. Because remember, skill is 20%. The rest of it is psychology. We all know people who seem to have absolutely no brain whatsoever, but are succeeding at something. They could be in their business and they're just crazy wealthy, they've done amazing, but you look at them and you're like, I have no idea how they did that. They just are operating on a different level, right? But they understood something, whether consciously or not, they just got the psychology of it. And that's what's important here. We need to not necessarily grow our skills so that we're the best draftsmen. We need to grow the software between our ears so that we have vision, we're moving towards that vision, we're marshaling all of our energy to this vision. And that's hard because there's a lot of doubt, frustration, and pain that comes with, taking that path, that artist path. You're creating something new. You have no idea if anybody will like it, love it, hate it, step on it, throw it away, or revere it. We have no way of knowing. It's impossible to know. That's the nature of creation. So in this course, Unleash, there's this really cool thing that's kind of happened that ties into this. Have you ever been in the studio or you're trying to get into the studio, you're trying to do your own work, and you just felt like you're a selfish jerk? You're just trying to do work, you're doing your own work, and you're like, man, I don't want to, I just feel selfish focusing on myself. I'll sculpt something for this client. I'll paint something for this tutorial. I will do something for my job. But when it comes to my own artwork, I really feel like I'm just a selfish jerk. I'm just taking time for myself. Maybe we have a family we have to support. Everything we do needs to contribute to that family. So we go into the studio, we're going to paint for ourselves. Well, we'll only give ourselves an hour, a half hour, because it's selfish to do it for ourselves. Such an interesting phenomenon. I've had that experience. Have you? Tell me in the comments below this video if you have had that experience. Because it's interesting that we're artists, we're on the fringe. Other people automatically assume we're selfish because you're doing that art thing. You're not an accountant, you're not a lawyer, you're not some career that's contributing to society per se. Or they assume, hey, you're free. You don't have the problems I have as the accountant, lawyer, or something like that. I have to do all of this stuff. You're an artist, you're free, you just do whatever you want. But are we free? As artists, are we really free? We can be, but are we? That's the dilemma. Because we get into the studio and we face that blank canvas, we face that white page. And we're a selfish jerk that wants to put our own thing on that blank canvas. want to rip up those trees, shear those sheep, make that canvas. And we're going to put something there? We deserve to put something there? Why do I deserve to destroy those pieces of paper, destroy those trees? Why do I deserve to do that? Now, some people won't answer that question. They just get belligerent, which is cool. You know, they'll just be like, screw you, I deserve it, this is my thing, I'm going to take care of it, and that's that. But that has ramifications, right? You've probably known people that maybe have taken that path. They're aggressive, don't integrate very well, and, you know, it has a toll on their psyche. We can do better than that. I know we can do better than that. What we need is somewhere around this selfishness, there's a misunderstanding. What we need is a new sense of play. That's it. So I come into the studio and I'm like, I'm selfish. But I'm going to give you another way to think about this. I'm playing, right? But now you're still thinking, well, that's still selfish because play is waste. We live in a work-play culture. Work is value. Play is something to distract yourself so you get into value. I want you to think about this like a 2-year-old. Do 2-year-olds play and waste their time? Yeah, sure, right? They're not paying rent. They don't have anything to do. They're just monkeying around. What about that 2-year-old that's looking straight at you and you say, don't pour the water? And they go, doo. Are they playing or are they just a belligerent jerk? Are they just a masochistic little tyrant that wants to, you know, disobey you? Well, we know in psychology now that this is very different. There's a great book out called Brain Rules. John Medina, I think he's a molecular developmental psychologist. I think that's it, or biologist. So the main tenet here, the main point of information is between 14 months of age and 18 months of age, the brain changes. At 14 months, everything belongs to an infant. They don't see the world outside of them necessarily. Everything is theirs. There's like a series of rules that John goes through for a 14-month-old. If I want it, it's mine. If it's next to me, it's mine. If it's not mine, it's mine. If it's my sister's, it's mine, right? Like my daughter, she'll come and sit next to my boy, and if she puts like a cup next to him, then he wants that cup. That's his cup. He wants to own that, right? But at a certain point, they realize that not everything is theirs. So they start to realize that there's a world outside that's not theirs, and they need to understand how they connect to that world. So what they do is they start to design tests to understand, you know, what's the actual dimensions of the outside world. Okay, so you don't want me to pour that cup of water out, right? But do you want me to pour that cup of water out over here? Or, okay, is it okay over here? Is it okay over here? What if I drop it really close to the ground and I pour it out there? You know, we think it's common sense. Don't pour it out. But they're two. They don't have this conceptual framework. They don't have that basic conceptual understanding of pour it out in this glass, that glass, that glass. It doesn't matter if you're pouring it out of a jug. It doesn't matter if you're pouring it out of your mouth. It doesn't matter if you're pouring it out of anything. Pouring it out is what I do not want you to do. But they're learning. So I want you to think about 2-year-olds as mini PhD candidates. What they are doing is not messing with us. They are designing a very comprehensive thesis on what we actually mean by no. Do you mean no here? Do you mean no here? Do you mean no like down here? Do you mean no all at the same time? Or do you mean no at all, like a little trickle of water coming out? What do you really mean by no? We think kids are playing, but what they're doing is they're writing little PhD thesis on some activity. They're playing when they're learning to walk, but they're actually studying what happens if I do this, what happens if I tilt this way, what happens if I tilt that way, right? And they're tilting all directions at once. They're moving around and doing, like my boy, my God, he must have hit his head I don't know how many times. He's got no sense of balance. I'm worried for him because he's moving around and he just throws himself in all directions. And I think he's nuts, but I also know what he's doing. He's studying. He's checking, okay, this and that, and this is how he's going to learn to be an incredible gymnast, I hope. He's just going to be amazing at being able to move his body through space because he's moved it every wrong way imaginable, and I can see him learning and getting more stable and more capable every single day. So play is not play. It's not wasteful. Play is learning. Pure and simple. You go to National Geographic, right? The cubs come out of the of hibernation. They come and they start tussling around and biting each other and all of that stuff. Are they messing around? No, they are learning, right? Because you know later on, like I grew up in Alaska, you meet one of those bears, you don't want to play with that bear because he's learned his lessons. You know, you're going to be on the losing end of that lesson. So play is learning. And if you do not allow yourself to learn, if you do not grow, what happens? We all know this. If you don't grow, you die. Maybe your body doesn't die, you're still eating. Your soul dies. So you and I were going through this world, we're like, I want to go into the studio and I want to do my own thing. But I got a family to support, I got all this stuff to do, I got all these things to have happen. I'm selfish to go in there and want to play, want to just kind of, mess around and see what happens. We got it ass backwards. Totally backwards. If you do not get into that studio and play, you will not learn. If you will not learn, you will die. If you die, you will not grow, you will not move from this point forward, you will not go, you will not progress. You will not accomplish your desires. You will become frustrated. You will pass that frustration on to your children, onto your wife, onto your family. They will grow up with that frustration. They will not grow. The universe will end. Everything will die. I hope I'm getting this a little bit clearer. If you do not spend time in the studio, the universe will die. It's a little melodramatic, but it's also true. If you die inside, then a part of this world dies. It doesn't see your brilliance. It doesn't see your beauty. You don't contribute to making this a gorgeous, wonderful place. That passes on to your kids. And then do they rise up to the challenge? Because that's what we're facing. Getting into the studio is not about being selfish. It is about learning. And I want you and me and everybody else to think about this from a totally different perspective. I'm not being selfish if I spend 4 hours in the studio painting something and nothing happens. I am learning because there is no way that I can contribute to you. I, Ryan, cannot contribute to you. I cannot do these videos. I cannot have anything of value to you unless I grow. And it is in my growth that I find value to give to you. And this video, a little long, the most important thing that I can give to you is that selfishness is a completely unproductive way to look at this. But I would say we're selfish if we don't get into the studio. We're being selfish and a little mean if we do not grow as an artist. If we do not give ourselves that time to become what we can be. If we do not test ourselves, if we do not fail, then where are we going to go? What are we going to do with all this extra time that we got by not being selfish? What is our life going to look like? We're not selfish. We don't go and do our own thing. We're not selfish. So, I'll just do this job and I'll take care of family and I'll, all of that stuff. And how's that feel? What does that get us? Do our kids feel like, we're this vibrant, amazing resource? I mean, I'm telling you this because it comes from me, right? I've had this feeling. I've walked into the house and I've seen the kids and I've been frustrated and I've been conflicted about having to spend time in the studio, and I'm just not the same dad. I'm just not. I'm not fun. I'm not, pushing things around with them. I'm not jumping up and down with them. I'm not on the same level of joy that they are. And if I was to do that for too much longer, they're going to pick up on it. They're not going to have the same level of joy. They're not going to have the same level of excitement. They're not going to give in to their joy. And the universe will die twice. And I will have caused that. My desire to not be selfish will have caused that. But I got past that crap. Get into the studio. Make it happen. Get in there. Just start learning, because it's growth. Your growth every day, not every day, every week, every month, every minute, whenever you can grow. We can't all draw every day. I understand that. We got things going on. There's things that are important. Fine. But when you have that moment to grow. Take it. Jump into the studio. Play, but play with your heart out. Play with everything you got. Play seriously. Play like it's life or death. And that you, in this moment, can make a difference. That you can change not just yourself, but the world, because you are playing with all your heart, as serious as you possibly can. Turn off the video. Get into that studio. Play like it matters. And I'll see you later.